Begin the current daf and set the Kesuvos Daf test. Begin the second line down from the top of the Yomim. We're in the middle of a discussion in the previous daf regarding this halacha of the Eidim saying that this is our handwriting, but we're anusim, we were ketanim, we're psuli edis. So in the Mishnah we quoted the opinion of the Rabbanan that said, look, they believed. Why they believed? Because of Pesha also Pesha Hitta. They're the ones who said and verified that this was their signatures. If not for them, we wouldn't have known their signatures. So when they say, but, I just want you to know, although these are our signatures, we weren't actually valid. We were actually minders, we were soliadas, we were something else that invalidates it, so they can be believed. But we quoted a brisa that the mayor said, no, ain't on the place. They're not believed to invalidate. That's why Gemara is in the middle of discussing why does the mayor hold it, not believe, why doesn't he agree to the principle of a pesha also who a pesha hitter. Shit corresponds to Kasuk from the Cheskot to Entem Daf. Chaim B'Shem is joining today's daf. So we're discussing today's daf, like I said, is this halacha of our Mishnah, Ha'edim Sha'amru, Anusam Ayinu, Ketam Ayinu, Psul Edis Ayinu, regarding their believability, regarding the fact that they're the ones who are authenticating it, and therefore they could be the ones to invalidate it. The halacha of Moed Mishtar Shekasa Abai Ein Tzarech L'Kaimai. The Gemara discusses a machlekes if the borrower himself, the one who owes, if he agrees that this document was written, do we need to have that verified or not? Now we have three different cases regarding the witnesses, what the halach is going to be if they say that yes, this is our handwriting, but but our words were based on faithfulness, which is that there actually was no real loan. It was just given in case that there was going to be one, and that's what we signed on, which would invalidate, do we believe in that? Or maidah is that there was a maidah. Maidah is that there was a notification given out first, beforehand, that the person who's writing that he owes the money was really being forced, and they had no choice. And they were notified beforehand, the witnesses, are they believed to say that? And tonight, are they believed to say that yes, actually everything here in the document is true, but there was a stipulation that wasn't fulfilled yet. So again, that's also a way of invalidating. Would that be also similar to the case of Amana and Maidah or not? So begin the current daf. Again, just to quickly review what we had said regarding Ha'edim Sha'amru Kesavidenu Huzeh. We said they believe their testimony is accepted and the shtar is disqualified because, like we said, Pesha Asa Hu Pesha Hitta. We said that was the Chachamim. We're saying the Brisa Damanim because of that principle, as we said in the Mishnah. But the mayor said Ein Amon B'Plaisai. Now we said in the previous daf from the Brisa, we were able to explain two of them very easily. Although the Chacham hold, when they say, let's say, Psuli Eitz Zayinu, great. HaPesha Asa HaPesha Hitta overrides the Chazaka, which is that they said that these were their signatures. Now, but just like they're saying these were their signatures, they're saying, yeah, but we were Ganavim, we were some type of an invalid testimony. Okay, so you believe now it invalidates their argument. So too when they say Ketam Miyim. Okay, yes, we believe you that these are your signatures, but you're saying you were minor, so that's getting validated. Question is, what's the halacha with your mayor? So we explained that a mayor has a chazaka. That's what I'm saying that the Chum would disagree and that would override the chazaka the Nasa. He holds that malva gufi meikara meidik daiko machtam, meaning to say that you can't tell me that you were psuli edis. We don't believe you on that because no lender would just get someone who's a ganef to sign on it as a witness. He checks to make sure that there are valid witnesses. So we actually have a chazaka that it's not true that what you're saying is not believable. So too when they say ketemi, when we were children, we were minors. No, that witnesses don't sign on a document unless it was made by an adult. And as the Gemara explains, so too that the lender would not have witnesses unless they were an adult. So because no one's going to have a child sign as witnesses, and therefore again we don't believe them that they were ketanim because of that chazak. What we ended off the Gemara on the second line from the top of the Amid was, how do we understand Anus Mayinu? Why wouldn't they believe to say Anus Mayinu? That should be a classic Pesha Asa Pesha Hitta. We were forced. That there's no chazaka working against that. So they're saying, yeah, these are our signatures, but we were forced because there was a gun to our head. So why shouldn't we believe them based on the Pesha Asa Hu Pesha Hitta? That's where we left off on the top of Daf Yomi. And that's where the Gemara continues. Second line down at the top of the Amr. Amr Chizah says, Ksavri Meir held that Eidim Sha'amulahem Chismu Sheker V'al Tanoigu. If witnesses were told that either sign falsely and then you won't get killed, no. They they should let themselves get killed and not sign falsely. Oh, so if they say, we were forced because our lives were at stake, you're making yourself into a Russia. Because even if your life was at stake, you're supposed to let yourself get killed and not sign falsely. And therefore, just like we said in the previous daf, that ain't other Mason Masmei Russia, you are not believed to make yourself a wicked person. We don't believe you even on Nusumayinu Machmas Nefashis, because you have no right to sign falsely on a document. That's what Rav Chizda says. Not only Rav says, Rav Chizda, how can you say such a thing? Hashta now, if let's say the witnesses would come to the Rav, comes to the best, and he would ask, he says, look, I'm going right now to sign a document. The guy says, he's going to blow my brains out if I don't sign the document. What should I do? We would tell him, go sign so that you don't get killed. Why would we say that? Because the well-known halacha, there's nothing that stands in the way of saving a person's life. Ella, there's only three exceptions, the three cardinal sins: idolatry, sexual immorality, and spilling the blood, only a murder. But anything else, including signing falsely on the document, you don't give up your life for. So I don't understand, says Rabbi. Now that they sign, was saying, why did you sign? As if you have no excuse, we don't believe you, you're Bisla Rasha. How can you say you signed falsely because what are you talking about? It's a mitzvah. So what are you telling me? That's the interpretation of why Remei would hold. We don't believe him when he says Anusamina. So rather, the Gemara doesn't like that. Rather, the time of Remei, the reason Remei is for this Anusaminu, why we don't believe him, is because Kedrahuna Rav. He says, if the borrower agrees, Bishtar Shekasava, regarding a document that was written, and that based on him, yes, the borrower is saying, it was with me that we agreed that this should be signed and done, then the lender does not need Sarach Lekaima. The lender does not need to verify the document with the witnesses that are signing it. Why? Because the borrower is not believed anymore to say that I paid it up. Again, he's agreeing to the fact that it was written. That he's agreeing to. So he cannot say that, okay, right, it was written, but I paid it up. And we don't say over here, HaPesha also Pesha hit. What do you mean? It was only with me that I'm admitting that it was written, and now I could say that it was paid up. No. Because once you're saying it was kosher, so the shtar is already huchzik, it already has the authenticity of being a valid shtar. When he now says perativ, yeah, but I paid it up, it's only because I agreed that it was written, now I could say I paid it up. No, he's not believed. Why? Because it's in the hands of the lender. The lender has the document. How can you say you paid it up? What's he doing with the document? Now, Teza says, why isn't he believed with a migui? He could have said that it was mezuyev, forged. That sounds very likely, meaning at least in regards to what he's doing. He's being moed was written. I could have said it was forged. Then you wouldn't be able to collect with it. So that says, Teza says no, because maybe he's afraid that he's afraid to say mezuyev because they might refute him. And he's going to get shown, says, what are you talking about? Look at this, it's MS, and he doesn't want to be embarrassed. Paying, he could say, because there's no way of refuting him. But to say mezuyev, he can be refuted to show what I mean. We could show that you went and had this notarized or whatever, and how could you say that? So he's afraid to say that. And therefore, that's not a valid migui. But regarding that operative, that he could say, but that wouldn't be believed anyway because it's in the hands of the lender. Now, so Rashi understands what the Gemara is trying to say is as follows. Remeir also holds that he's not believed to invalidate it. When is he not believed these Eidim when they say Anusamiyinu? Is in the case of Maida Leiva Shekasava. And therefore he holds that you don't need any more Eidim because we're not relying on the Eidim to be Mekayim Nishtar. Once the Leiva agrees that it was written, you don't need Kiyam. The whole halacha of Anus Meginu that the Chacham were going on was based on the Pesha, Asa Pesha, we said it's on a signature, but we're saying we're Anusim. So you can't do anything with the document. No, we don't need your verification of your own signatures. Because once the Leiva is Maidisha Kasavai, you don't need Kiyim. You don't need Kiyim, so you're not believed now to be Maga, Shtara Mecheskase, to make a flaw in the documentation. But obviously that the Chacham hold And therefore, since you need to be mekayim, then you are going based on their words, and if they do have a pesha, also a pesha heter. That's the machlekes between the mayor and the chachamim in the brayso regarding the case of a nusmin. Now, once we mentioned this teaching that we said that the rationale of a mayor is based on, so the Gemara discusses that teaching. Omar of Nachman, Omar Rav. If someone agrees that this document was written, so now the lender, the one that's holding the document, does not have to verify the document because his other partner, the other party, agrees to the document that was written. So only Rav Nachman tells Rav Huna, who said over this teaching, Ganava ganubi lamalach. Why are you stealing to say your words in a way that as if no one is disagreeing about this, a yochid and the rabbim, so that as if they shouldn't say that what you're saying is like not true because you're only saying like a das yochid, like an individual opinion. Why are you being stealth? Like, why are you being deceptive? If you held like a mayor, which we just mentioned his teaching, who holds based on the principle of moed b'shtar caused by ein tzarich l'kaima. That's why nusmin does not believe. Im halacha k'red mayor. Say halacha is like a mayor. Don't just say like an independent teaching. Azoi is the halacha. Azoi haltman. No, it's actually the Rabbanan disagree with that. You're telling me halacha. That's only according to a mayor. And why are you saying it as of a blanket halacha? So Malay, so Rav Huna responded. He says, "Umahi chesvirle." And the master, how do you hold Rav Nachman? But regarding halacha moed b'shtar sheksabay. So Amalei says, I'll tell you, that by us, ki as ladino, when they come to us to a court case, that's the meaning the lender brings the documents, amina lahu, so we tell them, in other words, it says, this is what I usually tell to the lenders who are bringing the documents in front of me, and they don't have the witnesses with them, so I tell them, zilu kaimush taraychu. Go ahead and request that your witnesses come and verify the document, and then mechus ladino, and then come down to have the court case, because if not, even though the borrower agrees it was written, the Rabbanan hold that, yes, he could say, I paid it up. And therefore, since he could say he paid it up, so therefore, even if the labor agrees that it was written, but he's saying he's paying it up, so therefore that he's peshas of peshaita, he's invalidating it. And therefore you would have to have the Eidim to go ahead and be mekayim it, so therefore we see that he held like the Rabbanan, and not like your man. Now the Gemara continues regarding a similar theme, regarding this idea of what we said in the Mishnah. Just like we said in the Mishnah that the Eidim, again, we said that the document needs to be verified. Until it's verified, really, it does not have much validity. So the witnesses who come and they verify their own signatures, and therefore the authenticity is dependent on their own testimony, they could then say, oh, well, what we said was invalid because we were getanim, we were anusim, we were psuliadis. So then, therefore, that they're nemanim to invalidate it. Now they're going to discuss a similar type of cases, what they're believed to say. If let's say someone says that this document is a document of faithfulness, which is that he really didn't borrow anything. What happened was they wrote a document, they gave it over to the lender in case the borrower needs to borrow, because this guy he has a deal on the table always at any point in time. The Bezdin, they open from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock. You can't get to the Bezdin. 7 o'clock at night, the guy needs a few $1 million to be wired. He says, I'm not giving you a few $1 million. How do I know? The Bezdin's not open. So I need it now. So what they did was they wrote a document beforehand. And in case I need to borrow, you have this already, witnesses signed, we have the Bezdin, the Tom Zeriba, it's already done. And he believes him that he's not going to come and claim from him until he actually lends him the money. But he wants him to have that ready. That's called a shtar money. It's faithfulness. Like, I believe you, but I know you're not going to lend me the money, so I give you the document so that it's ready when we need to use it. Says Rav, ain't enough.
Why would he give him the document? I mean, well, he can prepare the document and hold it until the actual transaction takes place.
Right. Why does he have to give it over to the lender? Why couldn't he just hold on to it? It's good, Shaila. Why does he have to give it to the lender?
Because he's going to another town and he's going to wire him the money tomorrow. It happened. You know?
Right, could be like something like that. I mean, he needs to have it for when it's going to happen because he's not going to get the document to him or something like that. So he has the shtar money.
So why
So he's not. So he says the rabbi's not believed. So says the Gemara, the Kamam not. Now, who's saying this? That is the shtar man. The Gemara goes through all the three parties that are possible. Every time it's the borrower who's saying pshita, of course. Kol kamine. What do you mean? You have witnesses signing it. Obviously, that he's just gonna verify the signatures and he's gonna collect. How could the borrower say that this document, the guy's coming with a fully notarized, authorized, shtar, and say, oh, it was amana? Of course, he can't be believed. No. So ve'ela the kamal. The lender is saying that it was amana. Says the Gemara, trouble and bracha. Let all the blessings go on his head. He's agreeing, he's admitting to the truth that it's not a real document. So what are you going to say? No, it's the witnesses. The witnesses who signed says, Rabbi say, we signed, but they told us this was only going to be just in case of an extreme situation, but this is not a real document. So the question is, if these witnesses' own signatures, as you recall from the previous Daf, we said there's three different ways of verifying signatures. Either the witnesses themselves say these are our signatures, or other people recognize their signatures, or we go and we have it compared to other documents we have in the courts. So if their handwriting, it could be produced from somewhere else. We're not really reliant on the witnesses to say these are our signatures. Pshita, of course they're not believing. Because you don't have a pesha asa. You can't go ahead and say a new testimony. So of course they wouldn't be believed. We're not reliant on them to verify their own signatures. And if their handwriting is not coming out from anywhere else, why are they not believed? It's a pesha asa, pesha hitter. We only know it's a document from their testimony. So why wouldn't they believe to say amana haya deberenu, that it was based on just faithfulness? So we don't understand this halacha. It doesn't make sense to Leiva, doesn't make sense to Malva, and doesn't make sense to witnesses. So who's saying this amana that he's not believing? So the Gemara says Siman Bash. So this is the Amiram that we're going to quote for how to answer. We're actually going to take each one of these variables and we're going to show how it's going to be that case. Amar Rava, this is really the base of the Bash, is the Rava, is the base. Amar Rava says La'ilam the Kamalai. The case is talking about that the borrower is the one who's saying that amana is the brainer. Now, what's the chiddush in that? Of course, he can't say it's amana. A guy lender's coming to court and he's saying, "Here's my document." Oh, faithfulness. What's the chiddush? It says Gemara could have huna because it's going like a huna. Then Rav Huna Merav says Moed b'shtar shlik savai. As we quoted this halacha before, Rav Huna held that, like Reb Meir, if you agreed by a document that was written, so ain't tzarich l'kayim. So you don't have to verify it. So Rabbi Yehuda is also telling us the same idea, that if the borrower says that I wrote it and I gave it to the lender, but it was the shtar mana, it was a document of faithfulness, that the lender does not even have to go ahead and bring witnesses to testify on the signatures, because the borrower is not believed to invalidate it, because a person wouldn't write and give over without a loan. So therefore, that's a chiddush. It's not stam that he's not believed that now the lender could go and verify the documents and the signatures and collect. He doesn't even have to verify the signatures. He does not have to mekayem the shtar because the label was moided. That's the point of the halacha of amana ha'idberenu. Even if he says that yes, it was written, but it was amana, no, he's not believing amana, and therefore now the lender could collect without even being mekayem the chesamas. That's answer number one. Abayam, that's the aleph of the Ba'ash. Abayam, he says, La'ilam damamal. He says, no, it's going to lender. So the question was, how could you say that he's not believed? If anything, Tavala Bracha, it should be gebenched. You really have a document of faithfulness and you really could have been deceptive and collected. And you say, no, it's true. It was not a real loan. Why would he not be believed? Says the Gemara, Kagoin Shachav La'acher. We're talking about where if this admission that he's quote unquote making, that's a shtar mana, is actually going to be a loss for other creditors of his, who now that he's admitting that this money, that this few $1 million that's owed to him is not real, his creditors have nowhere to collect from. They wanted to collect from the money that's owed to him. When he's admitting, no, it's not, I didn't really, the guy doesn't owe me a few $1 million, this was just in case. But I lost all my other money and now the creditors have nowhere to collect from. That's what we're saying, that the lender's not believed. Why is the lender not believed? Because you're not believed to say b'makam shechav lachem when it's going to be a flaw for others. What does that do with a flaw for others? But that's not his money. It's money that he wants to collect from that borrower, and then they want to collect from him. Oh, but that's what's known as Reb Nosson, the famous teaching of Reb Nosson, the time from Brisa, what's called Shibud de Reb Nosson. Reb Nosson, he says, how do we know that if someone is a creditor by his friend for $100? Now, but his friend owes his friend $100. So you have Reuben, Shimon, and Levi. Reuben is collecting $100 from Shimon. Shimon doesn't have anything, but he has a collection by Levi of $100. How do we know that Reuben goes straight to Levi? Oh, Tamalema has a teacher pushing about Midbar. It says, asher ashamloi. He's going to give back the payment that he owes to the one that the asham is to him. Meaning, like Rashi points out, it doesn't say la'asher holvoi to the one who lent him. It says la'asher asham loi. The word asham means the keren, means the principal. As the Gemara says in Baba Kama Daf Yomi Aleph, the one that the keren is his, that's who you give it back to. So you're not giving it back to the one that lent it to you. You're giving it back to his creditor. So therefore, that's the chiddush of this halacha of Yehuda, that actually if the lender says Amana Hayu, you're not going to believe him. Because it's chav la'achem, it's going to be bad for his creditors, and we don't believe you. We don't assume who does that. Who, like we said, who writes a document and gives it over when there was real no loan. That's just saying even the lender is not going to believe because of the Shabbat of Nasa. That's the second approach. The third approach, as the Gemara, is the shin.
So he gets to pay his creditors.
What?
I mean, he doesn't benefit either.
What his admission is being a chav for others. We don't believe you. We would believe you for your own self.
And so you can collect from Reuben and give it to Levi. I mean, so now he's not going to collect from Reuben and not pay Levi.
He's saying that there was no loan.
There was no loan, so.
And that no money is owed to him.
Okay, so.
So what's he collecting?
Even though there is money owed to him. Because
we don't know. I'm saying
he doesn't want to pay Levi.
We don't know. I'm saying the point is, but
if it's true, okay, so it's true. If it's not true,
but you're saying this that we don't believe him. We don't believe.
Why don't we want to believe him? Because maybe he owes money to Levi.
Right, he owes it. Right, he owes money.
So he'll take the $100 that Reuben owes him and give it to Levi. Either way, he's not getting the $100.
No, but he's going to take it without anyone knowing about it. That's the point.
What?
He's going to take it without anybody knowing about it. That's the point.
But
he's going to be interim tish.
Admitting in court that it's Shtar Amona, how's he going to collect $100?
No, because interim tish. Monashach. If he would, then he won't get anything. He'd rather not pay up his creditors.
Or he made up, they'll take 50% under the table.
Yeah, other them, or whatever. Or it's like,
Well, once you admit in court that it's Shtar Amona, then Reuben isn't going to pay it anymore.
Right, you have to know, but the relationship they have, I'll upon them that, but it definitely is going to be a chav lachem, and therefore he's not going to believe. Now, the third interpretation of Rashi, he says that's the shin. He says the third variable. So lo'im dekami edim. Truth is, it's going on the case of the witnesses. So we had a question. We wanted to know. So we're saying we want to know, is it ksav yod mitzvah macher or not? So the Gemara is saying udein ksav yod mitzvah macher. We're not verifying their signatures from anywhere else. So the question we had was the comment of Ma'ilom Hamdi says, why are they not believed? That's a pesha also. They're the ones that are authenticating. They then believe to say that it was invalid. No, why not? Why did they not believe? Rav Kahana, because like Rav Kahana said. The Rav Kahana says, it's forbidden for a person it's forbidden to hold on to a document of faithfulness in your house. Why? Because the pasuk says in Eir, and don't have it dwelling in your tents this injustice, which is gitintim days. Kahana, what we infer from Rav Kahana that we mentioned before, that that if the witnesses say that our words were based on faithfulness, and them not believe, my time. Well, what's the reason? Because even the avlahu, you're not allowed to have something that's in injustice in your house, and therefore avlu chasmi. They don't sign on something that's forbidden, and therefore, if they're going to say we did sign, not believe to make themselves wicked, because ein odem es matmer rasha. So you're not allowed to hold on to something that's an avla in your house, and a case of avla is amana, because it's inappropriate, because this is something that's not a real document. and they can be falsely collected with. And therefore, we don't believe them when they say, Amana Hayda Berenu, because of the fact that it's a Rashis. So you don't have a Pesha Asa in the case of when it's based on wickedness. So again, we had three different answers that the Gemara gave for how do we understand that it was Amana, either the Leiva, or the Malva, or the Eidim. The Leiva, we said the Chiddush is that you don't even have to be Mekayim it. The Malva was they did not believe because the Makom Shayach Chav Lachem, and the Eidim is because it's an Avla, and therefore ain't all the Mesim Atmerosh, and they're not believing the Pesha Asa when it comes to making themselves wicked. Now, based on the pasuk that we mentioned before, Amir Shub ben Levi says, "Asala the Adam, sheishashta peru b'tein." It's forbidden for a person to hold on to a paid document in his house. If it's already paid and he still has the document, Mishum Shneim, because it says in the pasuk, "Al teshkem alacha avla," you shouldn't hold on to something that's an avla, that's in equity in your tent. Now, the Marava Mishmei did Avami. However, in the West, in the name of Rab, they said in the beginning of the pasuk. The beginning of that pasuk says, "Im oven biyodcha," there's perversion in your hands. Hadchikeyu, distance it. What is that? So zeshtar aman. That's a document of faithfulness, which that's if that's for the future. And v'shtar pasim. What's a shtar pasim? So the shtar pasim is actually from the word of Yisayas. It's a document that he persuaded him to lend him a document. Why would a person persuade someone to lend him a document? Is because he has to show for the lunch program or whatever it is, he got to show that he has a certain amount of money, and they're not going to give him the mortgage or whatever this and that. So he says, "Look, I have a document. This guy Reuben owes me $10,000, and Shimon owes me $20,000." And they say, "Oh, okay, this guy's got collateral." So that's called a shtar pasim, and that's what we're saying, that you got to distance yourself from that because these are false documents. And instead of al tashkim b'lecha avla, and don't let it reside in your tent, this injustice, zeshtar perua. This refers to a paid document, which, as Taisa explains, because when it says oven b'yadecha archikeu is shtar pasim shtar mana, because the word oven sounds like something that was always from the beginning sheker. That's these documents of pasim and mana, they were false from the beginning. If al tashkim b'lecha avla, it's a shtar perua, is a paid document where now it's an avla, but initially it was true, it just was already paid up. You shouldn't be holding on to a paid document because you could then go ahead and collect with it again. Now the Gemara explains that mandam, according to Bishum Levi, says shtar perua, that what's considered an avla is a paid document, then for sure regarding the document of faithfulness, which from the get-go was an avla, so for sure that's going to be problematic. But a mandam, according to Rav Kahana, who he says it's referring to shtar mana is avla, avashtar perua loy. But a paid document wouldn't be a problem because why could you hold on to that? Because the zemin demashi le'apshita desafa, at times the lender's allowed to hold on to the paid document because of the coins of the scribe. Meaning, when you write a document for a loan, the borrower is the one who's responsible to pay for the scribal fees, for the court fees. Now, sometimes this borrower really has so not money that the lender, besides giving the loan, he actually says, "Okay, look, I'll pay for the court fees, but when you pay up the loan, then I'll collect the court fees from you." And sometimes he pays up the loan, but he doesn't give the court fees. So the lender says, "Look, I'm holding on to the document, so therefore it's not considered an avla, even subsequently, even after it's paid, because the guy didn't pay up the court fees, and therefore he's holding on to it. So therefore that would not be considered an avla." That's the machlek is regarding is the avla only on the shtar mana or even on the shtar perua. Now, also with that same pasuk about don't having something wrong in your house, Seidmar we learned that a sefer, that is a sefer Torah or Nevi'im or Kesuvim, she'ena muga, which is not edited from the errors inside of it. Amr Bami, he says, Ad la midiyam l'utal l'shayseh. Up until 30 days, you're allowed to hold on to that sefer Torah in your house. From that point on, after 30 days, you can't have it in your house anymore. Why? Don't let it reside in your house. Something that's iniquity, that's something that's wrong, which is the erroneous sefer Torah, which actually on the side of the Gemara they bring in the Gillian that it's learned out from the word al. Al tishkem alecha avla is the word lamed aleph, which is that what it means to say is on day 31, if already 30 days passed, then you're going to have a tishkem alecha avla. So that's al tishkem alecha avla. At when it's day 31, you already had an avla now by having this mistaken sefer Torah in your house. That's this way it gives you up until 30 days. Now, continuing on the halacha of the Mishnah, Amar Rav Nachman, we're talking about what do the witnesses believe when they say, look, it's our signatures, but there's something wrong with it. So what's with Aiden, who are signed on a document, that they said, Amana hoya deverenu, meaning, like we said, there was no loan at all. We wrote it for him that when he needs to lend to him, so this guy was already creating a lien of all his properties from now, if he's going to give him the loan, even at a later point in time. So it's not muktim. It's not like he's going to collect inappropriately, because he's going to collect from quote unquote the top of the loan that allows you to collect from the collateral from the borrower, which would be inappropriate. It says no, he was already meshabed all his nechasim from now. So that's an important idea why we would have a shtar amana. These guys giving it to the lender says, yeah, it's like Isaac, you already loaned me money now. I'm already trusting you, but there was no actual loan. So ain't amana. Did not believe to say it was amana, like we said before, on top of the amid, because that's a ma'aserishus. Because al tishka malachav, you're not supposed to have some document like that. So they're not believed to say it was amana. Now, what's with meidah v'yidavrenu? What's if they say that, let's say it was a sale document, and the witness who was signing it say that, I just want you to know that the seller had called us over to the side beforehand, and he made a meidah. He told us an announcement that he said, look, the guy's a mobster, this guy, and he has my life is, if I don't sell him this painting, my life is at stake. And we recognized that was the case. So although we signed, but the guy already gave us notice before that he's being coerced, and that's why he's selling it. And that says Rav Nachman Einaman. They're not believed to say that there was a meidah on this, because their word cannot come ahead and create a flaw in the pre-existing document. That's what Rav Nachman says. Now Mar Bar Rav Ashi, he disagrees. He says the first halacha agrees. Not believed to say that it was a document of faithfulness again, because that would make yourself a derasha. But meidah in the man. But if they say that our words were with a meidah, so therefore thus invalidating the document, they are believed. So the Gemara explains. It says why? Because my time was the reason as follows. What's the difference between these two types of documents? Both are the witnesses saying that it was invalid. Because a meidah is nitin, is given over for the witnesses likasid to write the document, because they're saving the guy, the victim, from the me'anis, from the mobster. So they believe, why not? Of course you're supposed to do that. Whereas but a shtar, man only nitin likasid, is not allowed to be written because it's an avlo. So when they say we sign, they're making themselves into Rishon. A person is not believed to make himself a Russian, therefore we don't believe the witnesses. That's the machlekes, where again, Mabar Avashi holds that they are believed because it's written to be given over, and therefore you have a peshas, a peshet. Rav Nachman says they're not believed because again they're not believed to create a flaw of the document. That's really the same reason that Maisa, we have a verified document. Now you orally want to say there's something more over here that we don't know about, that you want to invalidate. On that they say that you're not believed to do that. Now Tosfos says al karchos be'in ksav yod mir tzmakam achar, because the ksav yod mir tzmakam achar pshita, and then therefore, and even though that they're saying that they're the ones that are verifying, even so that we have this machlekes, Rav Nachman still say they're not believed because le'aseh al peh amor le'lishtar. Now the Gemara has a third case. He says, and this was Rav Nachman who he said those two halachas, that amano or meidah ha'divrenu, he held on both of them, he's not believed. So what's with t'nai ha'divrenu? What if they say that our words were sold on condition that yes, it was a real sale, but he has to do such and such, and we never saw him do such and such. He never fulfilled the condition, and he's saying, yeah, he never did it for me, and therefore there's no sale. Now, what's the halacha? So the Gemara explains what's the question. So the Gemara says, essentially, is it comparable to the two cases Rav Nachman said before? What's the reason why Rav Nachman said that if the witness says that our shtar was meidah, our shtar was amana, that they not believe because they're kalkulei l'shtar. They're uprooting the document with their testimony, and therefore, even though they're verifying it, but now that it's a valid shtar, your oral testimony cannot uproot the document over here. And therefore, when you're saying that it was a t'nai, essentially you're uprooting it because now it's not a valid sale based on what you're saying, because you're saying there was stipulation. Maybe then no. He's not uprooting the document. The witnesses agree that it's a true document. It's just that there was a stipulation between them. And therefore, Tanai, saying there was conditions over here, doesn't masachridihi. It's an independent testimony. Now, by default, the document is going to be considered invalid subsequently when the guy doesn't fulfill his condition, but it has nothing to do with the documentation. They're not being oiked the shtar. It's not being movalei lechaskos in the shtar. The shtar is a kosher shtar, kosher b'yasher, 100%. And I have no right orally to invalidate that. But I'm saying something else. Independent. There was a Tanai around this. That's a separate testimony. And therefore, they believe to say that. That's the question, is Tanai Hoyu Devarenu the same as a Mona Maidah, or is it something else? So Malay, so Nachman said to him, Kiyasal Kamon, when the consumers come in front of us, Ladina, that their witnesses testify that it was a Tanai, so then Amrila, we tell them, Zilu Kaimu Tanaichu. Go ahead and fulfill your conditions to the owners, and then Mechus Ladina, and then you could go ahead and hold on to the property. Meaning to say, but if they don't fulfill the condition, then it's not going to be theirs, which obviously we believe the Eidim, in this case, it's not the same as the Mona Maidah, because the T'nai Hayu D'Berenu is different because it's not creating a flaw in the document itself, it's just adding on another stipulation, and therefore they are believed to say that. Now, the Gemara has a specific case. Let's say Eidam and T'nai, the Eidam and T'nai. Interesting question. What happens if you have these two witnesses who signed on the document? But one of them says, yes, but there was a condition. I remember when we signed on the document, it was on condition that he signs for him on the mortgage of a property. And the Eidam and the other one says, no, there's no condition. No, he made the sale unconditional. Some of Papa says an interesting explanation. It says, Tavayu, both of these witnesses, they're both testifying that the document is true. And it is as it's written without conditions, because that's how they signed it. When you see their signatures on the document, which they're both agreeing to, you don't see anything about any conditions. So they're both agreeing that this is a bona fide document. Now, I did come Tanai. Now, the one who's saying that there's a stipulation, he's only one. Now, you can't take the words of one to believe, to uproot, when you have a document that two witnesses are signed on. He is one of those, but on the document, he has no right to uproot that. He is one against two. He's one of those two also. And now he wants to say, Tanai, well, that Tanai is an independent idea. You can't uproot against two witnesses. That's what Rav Papa says. From asking Rav Hun Yeshua, he says, wait a second. If that's the case, that since you're telling me that when they testify on their handwriting, on their signatures, you made this guy one of the verifiers of the document, as it is, like without, you don't see anything about the conditions in the document. And therefore, it's considered like the document has two witnesses saying there's no tonight. And now this last time that he's saying testimony is like he's one against two. Then Afilu Tavayu Nami. So then asks Rav Huna, Breda Yeshua, he says, I understand. Even if two witnesses say Tanai Hayu Devarenu, we shouldn't believe them. Why? Because since they testify on their handwriting, so they're verifying the document as it's written. So when they say Tanai Hayu Devarenu, that our words when we saw the sale was on condition, they're what's called Chayzer Umagid. That's a separate, you tell me that's a separate testimony. That shtar is done. Now you want to go and say, oh, there was a Tanai? You can't be Chayzer Umagid on something that you yourself said. Again, it's like a lamdasha. You said there's no Tanai. Because that's how you're saying one against two. When you're saying the guy himself saying, I'm telling you, I saw him, but it was a Tanai. We say, no, you're one against two. What do you mean one against two? It's me against the other eight. No, you both signed in the document, and it doesn't say anything about Tanai. So you essentially are saying eight, that there's no Tanai. Now you want to say that there is, you're one against two. So then then even when the same two, when the same two eight, not one, both say it was a Tanai, why are you believing them? It's two against two. And so why is Rav Nachman saying, go ahead, you have to fill the Tanai, why are we believing them? It's like how can you tell me that you have to fill it? But they're Chayzer Magid. You already testified, the two of you, that it doesn't have a Tanai. How can you say that it does have a Tanai? So Elorella says obviously that must be that it's not a verified signature Why? Because since within the amount of time they finish their words and they say, yes, it was us who signed, but it was a condition. Okay, so Armin Hani Lebekis of the Saika. So we say, but they're coming to uproot their testimony. Although we're saying it's our handwriting, but we're saying, but I just want you to know, we only signed on the condition that there was going to be a Tanai being fulfilled. And since Tanai is something independent, which is not uprooting only at a point in time, so it's not comparable to Maidah and Amana, and they believe, because it's an independent Eidus. So I don't understand. So Hainami, Seirosa, when this one aid, when he concludes and he says with it tonight, Lamekar Sudah say, he's coming to uproot his testimony of his signature. That's across, he's coming to say, I only signed on that condition. And therefore, since it's independent, we said that it's only by default, by itself, that the shtar is being uprooted. So it comes out that you really only have one witness signed on the document, not two. So why saying it's Echad Makam Shnayim? Why don't you believe that Eid Echad to say, what's the difference than when two of them? The Gemara actually concludes, you're right. The Hilchas actually follows like him that Eid Echad would be believed to say Tanai Haya Deverenu, and therefore it would be one against one, and it would cancel each other out, and the guy would not be able to collect because you wouldn't necessarily say that he has to fulfill this Tanai. We don't have verification of a Tanai because we have one against one, not one against two.
So there weren't two against one, but there were two that signed.
Right, there was two that signed, but one of the two who signed is saying, it's my signature, but it was because it was a Tanai. And the Tanai was never fulfilled, and he's believed to say that. Not like Maidah and Amon is not believed.
What does the Papa say?
What did the Papa say? Right, he holds that no, that it's considered as if he's verifying in the document as if, there was no Tanai. And if we don't believe you against two, that's what the Papa would hold. But Yeshua doesn't hold like that. Because then what's the difference between two? Why do you believe two? The Gemara says related Tana Baluna Braisa. Shnayim achasumim al hashtar b'meisu. If you have two people that are signed on a document and they die, ubo shnayim min ashuk v'amru. Now two people come from the marketplace and they say, look, we know these two people passed on already. We know it's their handwriting. Okay, that would verify, and that would be you could collect with that document. But they say this is the same halach of our Mishnah, but instead of the witnesses themselves from the Yetzim Machar. But on this meaning, we know that they were forced. Or could tell me how they were minors then. Or they were invalid witnesses. Says the Braisa. So those witnesses are believed to say that it was their handwriting, but they were forced. Now, but who is that? But if let's say you have other witnesses that's their handwriting. Or let's say their signatures could be produced from elsewhere. Meaning, what does that mean from elsewhere? If you have a document that the defendant wanted to invalidate it. So he was contesting the validity of this document. And what happened was, it was already ascertained in the courts. They went and they verified and they documented and showed no, it was their signatures. And now you're comparing it to these signatures and you see it's the same. Then so then we don't believe these witnesses to say Anusim Hayu or Ktan Hayu because there's no Pesha also, because we know the signatures are true from somewhere else. So we don't need you. So how you believe to say that these were people that were forced? You're not believed to be moralei l'chaskasi d'shtar. Now, so the Gemara has a question. It says, wait a second. So you tell me that you could collect with this document because their signatures are verified from elsewhere and we don't rely on them, and therefore those other people not believe to say keep a straw but I'm like a regular document? But why? You have the witnesses of a document that are two that are saying it is a valid document. You have these two people are testifying that they were puzzled at that time. They're also two saying it's not valid. So generally when you have two and two, you cancel it out, so we wouldn't be able to collect with it. So how can you say that you collect with it? Some Rav Shesha says, this teaches us the following important principle. Hakchasha, when you're refuting someone, it's really like Tchilas Hazama. It's the beginning of Hazama. Hazama is a different type of refutation. Hakchasha is like I say and you say. We're disagreeing regarding what happened. Hazama is not that I'm disagreeing with what happened. I'm telling you that you weren't even there. You were someone else with us. You couldn't have been signed on that. Now, what's important? Why is it important to say that refutation is like at the beginning of Hazama? Because as the Gemara continues up with Chafim and Aleph, just like you could not do Hazama. You could not go ahead and say to these witnesses and get them incriminated because they weren't there. It could only be done in front of them. Why? Why is that to be in front of them? Because you're trying to create a liability for those witnesses. Because you want to punish them. either capital punishment or monetary punishment, which is whatever they wanted to do to that defendant, you actually do to those witnesses themselves. Now the Torah tells us, let's say regarding a shar shanagaf, it says v'huad bevolov, which is that, as the Gemara says about the Talmud for the Beis Mabeis, that the owner of the shar has to stand there by a shar to become incriminated. Which from there we learn out that the defendant has to be there when you're incriminating him. Oh, so just like Azama is only b'fneihem, kach emachishin as edim, so too you cannot refute the witnesses, because it's like a tchilas Azama, even just to nullify their testimony, el b'fneihem, only in front of them. And here they're dead. So you cannot refute them when they're not around. And therefore, says Rav Sheshes, you obviously see like Hakosh, Tchilas Hazama, and that's why we don't believe them. I don't believe Nachman. Nachman said to him, I don't understand. If they would be around, these two people who passed away, and we would refute them, Habakasha would be Akasha, we wouldn't pay attention to the witnesses on and the document to collect based on them. Because that would be refuted testimony, be 2 against 2. Now that they're not around. Where the Ilu have come on? Had they been around, maybe they would even admit. We don't know. They were signed, but he could say they were anusim or katana. Maybe they were even and you're gonna believe them? How does that make sense? Rav Nachman qualifies his teaching. No, it doesn't mean that you could collect with this document. It's uki trela. The trade we actually do make 2 against 2, and the money remains in the possession of the one who's holding it, which would be in the cheskes of the labor. The borrower actually would not have to pay. So let's say it's a piece of property that was sold. We're going to say that the property is going to stay in the chazaka of the meicher. The Brisa said that ein amanim. Didn't we say that those other witnesses are not believed to say that they were anusim? That's not to say that it's a valid document that now you could collect with, because that's what it sounds like. It's like they're not believed to say it's invalid, you could collect with it. No. It's just that we don't tear up the document. Why is that important? Because if the other party grabs it, and then he comes and he claims, and he says, what do you mean? So we're not going to remove it from that person. Because whenever you say ukatri about the tray, we say that the money stays b'cheskes wherever it is. So we're going to keep it in status quo, but if one party grabs it, we're going to say we're not going to take it away from him either. So that's the importance of saying that that we don't believe them to tear up the document. We would tear up the document if we believe them because they were anusim. Tear it up. No, we're not going to tear it up. So yeah, we're not going to have to collect with it. At the same time, if that guy does, we're not going to take it away from him. And therefore, that's what the halacha is when you have, it's going to be a classic case of trade law. I think it's anytime.
Why can't you refuse?